ever find yourself in a moment like, you should help, but you just freeze up? Yeah, I think we've all been there. That feeling, that helplessness when something's happening and you just can't act. That's exactly what we're diving into today.
Okay.
And it all stems from a case back in 1964, the murder of Kitty Genovese.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Gruesome case, 38 witnesses, 35-minute attack.
Wow.
Only one call to the police.
It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. Really makes you question human nature, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, are we all just inherently selfish?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a natural question to ask.
Thankfully, two social psychologists, John Darley and Bibb Latany, spent their careers trying to figure this out.
They were really, really intrigued by this phenomenon. Like, obviously, I mean, who wouldn't be, right?
Yeah.
They didn't believe it was just apathy, though.
Okay.
They theorized that there were social and psychological factors at play that could explain this.
So what did they find?
Well,
did they unlock the secret to this?
Well, I mean, unlock is maybe a strong word, but they did some really fascinating research.
Yeah.
And they kind of started by defining something called pro-social behavior.
Pro-social behavior.
Which basically means any action that benefits others.
Okay.
Or society as a whole.
Okay, like donating to charity or stepping in to help someone in need.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Volunteering your time.
So pro-social behavior is basically the opposite of this bystander effect, right? It's the good stuff.
It's the stuff that makes the world go round.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
The actions that make it a better place.
Exactly.
Okay.
So Darley and Latany, they really wanted to understand, like, what are the conditions that make pro-social behavior more or less likely?
Okay.
And to do this, they had to do experiments, and they had to kind of isolate the different variables.
Like that famous one where they simulated a seizure over an intercom.
You got it.
I remember reading about that.
Yeah.
And I thought it was such a clever experiment.
Oh, it was. It was brilliant. They had participants believing they were having like a discussion with other students over this intercom system, right?
Right.
But in reality, it was all pre-recorded.
Oh, so it was okay.
Yeah.
So they thought they were talking to real people.
Yeah.
But it was all fake.
Yeah, they thought they were having a real interaction.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
And the researchers could control the number of people the participant thought they were interacting with.
Okay, so some people thought they were just one-on-one.
Right.
With another person.
Maybe just one other person.
Yeah.
Or maybe a group of like 3 or even 6. So they could really manipulate that variable.
Okay.
And then during the conversation, one of these pre-recorded voices would start having a seizure.
Oh, wow.
And they made it very realistic, right?
Yeah.
Like this person was gasping for air, pleading for help.
Really?
Even saying like, I'm going to die, I'm going to die.
Oh my gosh, that's intense.
Yeah.
I bet that was really stressful for the people participating.
Oh, I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
Just hearing that sense of urgency.
Right. That helplessness.
Yeah.
Of not knowing what to do.
Absolutely. So what do you think happened? Did the number of bystanders...
I'm going to guess it did.
Yeah.
I'm going to guess it did.
It did.
I mean, that's what makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
The results... The results are really kind of shocking.
Okay.
So those who thought they were alone with the victim, they were way more likely to help.
Makes sense.
And they did so much faster.
Okay. So, yeah, if you think you're the only one who can help, you're like, I've got to do something.
That's all on you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But okay, so then what happens when more people are involved?
Well, that's the crazy thing.
Yeah.
As the perceived number of bystanders went up, the likelihood of helping just went like plummeted.
Really?
And even when they did help, there was a significant delay.
Wow.
Sometimes it would take people over 3 minutes to react.
Oh, 3 minutes.
Yeah.
That seems like forever.
Yeah, in a situation like that.
Especially in a situation like that.
Yeah. So, it wasn't that they didn't care.
Right.
Because Darley and Latany, they observed that many of the participants were showing obvious signs of distress. Like they were nervous, they were sweating, even trembling.
Huh.
So it wasn't apathy, it was something else.
Okay, so it was this thing that they coined, the diffusion of responsibility.
Right, you got it. They concluded that when we're surrounded by others, we feel less personally responsible to act. we assume someone else is going to take charge or that our help.
Like if you're driving and you see an accident on a busy street, you just assume someone else has already called 911.
You don't want to overreact.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, surely someone else is more qualified.
Right.
They've probably already done it.
So it's like this weird cost-benefit analysis that happens in our brains. Right?
Subconsciously, yeah. We weigh the awkwardness of like stepping in with the relief that someone else will handle it.
Right.
And don't forget the emotional part of it.
Oh, right. Yeah.
The less personal responsibility we feel, the less guilt we'll experience if we don't help.
So it's like a self-preservation.
It is kind of thing.
Yeah. But I mean, obviously it can have consequences, right?
Yeah.
If no one ends up helping.
Right. But diffusion of responsibility.
Yeah.
It's not the only factor at play here.
Right. The source material also mentions this. Evaluation apprehension.
Evaluation apprehension.
Bit of a mouthful.
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
It's a fancy way of saying, like, we're afraid of being judged.
Okay.
Like,
we don't want to do the wrong thing.
Right.
And look foolish.
Or look foolish, yeah.
Okay.
Or our help isn't even needed.
Right. I think everyone's had that moment where they're like, did I just see that person shoplift? Mm-hmm. And then you're like, well, what if I'm wrong?
Right.
I don't want to make a scene.
You don't want to be that person.
Yeah.
So it's that fear of being wrong, of looking silly.
Right.
That can really stop us from doing anything.
Yeah. I think everyone's been there.
It's a powerful force.
Yeah.
It often kicks in unconsciously.
Right.
We're social creatures. We are programmed to care what others think.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
You even had an anecdote about this, right?
I did.
Something about hesitating to help someone who might have been drowning.
It was a long time ago.
When you were younger.
But, yeah, I remember that feeling, that uncertainty.
Yeah.
That fear of making a fool of myself. Like, what if I'm wrong?
And the source material said that people who are prone to social anxiety sometimes feel this even more strongly.
Yeah, absolutely. The research shows that people with a high fear of negative evaluation, FNE. It's a mouthful.
Yeah, it is.
They're particularly sensitive to negative judgment.
Okay.
They can actually be less likely to help when they're alone.
Really?
Yeah.
That's kind of counterintuitive.
I know.
You
would think, right.
That they would be more likely to help when they're alone because no one's watching.
Well, it's almost like the lack of other bystanders, it removes their excuse.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, they can't diffuse the responsibility.
Right.
So their anxiety takes over.
Wow, okay.
It prevents them from helping.
So it's almost like a double-edged sword, right?
Right.
The presence of others makes you feel less responsible.
Right.
But then the absence of others kind of makes you more self-conscious.
Yeah, you feel the pressure.
Yeah.
It's all on me now.
So how do we break free of these traps?
Well, that's where Latene and Darley's 5-stage model of helping comes in.
5 stages. Okay, I'm intrigued.
It really lays out the steps we go through when we're deciding whether or not to intervene.
Okay.
And at each step, there's a possibility of our good intentions getting derailed.
Okay, so let's break this down.
Okay.
I'm really interested in this 5-stage model.
Okay, so stage one. Stage one is noticing the event.
Noticing the event.
Which seems simple enough.
Right.
But we're often distracted.
Right.
Lost in our own thoughts.
Yeah, we're not always paying attention.
Not paying attention.
Like in the Kitty Genovese case.
Exactly.
Right. Some of those witnesses might not have realized.
Right, they might have
misjudged the severity.
Or they thought it was something else.
Right. They thought it was maybe like a lover's quarrel.
Yeah.
Or something,
Or something less serious.
Yeah, something less serious. Okay, so stage one, notice the event.
Notice the event.
If you don't do that, you can't move on.
You can't move on.
Okay.
Then comes stage two, interpreting the situation.
Okay, interpreting the situation.
Okay, so is this really an emergency?
Right.
Do I need to intervene?
Okay.
Our brains are constantly trying to make sense of the world.
Yeah.
And sometimes we get it wrong.
Okay, so it's like
yeah.
I always use this example, but if you see 2 people arguing on the street,
right,
you don't know.
Right. Is it a lover's quarrel?
Yeah.
Or is it something more serious?
Or Yeah.
Yeah. And our interpretations are really shaped by our past experiences, our biases, even the way other people around us are reacting.
Okay.
So,
So stage 2 is really about
making sense of it.
Figuring out, okay, what's actually happening here?
Yeah. And that leads us to stage 3.
Okay.
Which is assuming responsibility.
Okay, so this is
the heart of it.
The heart of the bystander effect.
Yeah. When we're alone, the responsibility's like super clear.
Right.
But in a group, it becomes diffused.
Right.
Yeah. Shared.
And we can kind of shirk it off, right?
We can just got to be like, well, someone else will handle it.
Right. Someone else is going to take care of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Not my problem.
Okay. So stage 3, assuming responsibility.
Assuming responsibility.
Okay.
And then stage 4, this is deciding what to do.
Deciding what to do.
Okay. So do I know how to help?
Okay.
Do I feel competent?
Okay.
This is where things like first aid training or CPR can really make a difference.
Yeah, yeah.
Because if you have those skills,
you feel more...
You feel empowered.
Yeah, exactly. You feel like you can actually do something.
You can actually do something.
Okay.
Instead of freezing up or second-guessing yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's 4.
And then finally...
5.
Stage 5. This is weighing the costs and benefits.
Weighing the costs and benefits.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is where those fears we were talking about earlier come in.
Right. The looking foolish.
Yeah, like, what are the risks to me?
Right.
Could I make things worse?
Yeah.
Will I be embarrassed if I'm wrong?
It's almost
like this rapid fire calculation that often happens unconsciously,
Like really quickly in our minds.
Right. And unfortunately, the perceived costs of helping can outweigh the perceived benefit.
And so we do nothing.
Okay,
wow.
Yeah.
So this 5-stage model really kind of highlights all the places where our good intentions can get derailed.
Absolutely. But by understanding these stages, we can start to recognize those barriers.
Right.
And figure out how to overcome them.
This model's not meant to make us feel bad.
It's not about guilt.
It's meant to empower us.
It's about empowerment.
Right.
Yeah.
To help us recognize those things and make a different choice.
And choose to help.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So what happens
Well, that's a great question.
What happens when people can actually see each other?
That's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Does that change the dynamic?
Yeah, because I feel like
you would think, right?
You would think, yeah. It would make things more clear.
You'd think, okay, well, if I see other people reacting, then I'll know how to react.
I'll know that it's serious. I'll know that I need to do something.
You'd think we'd be more likely to help.
Right.
If we see other people helping.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling...
Darley and Latané found
it's not that simple.
Something really surprising when they designed an experiment to test this.
Okay.
It's their famous smoke-filled room study.
The smoke-filled room study. Okay, I'm already intrigued.
It's a classic.
Yeah.
And it really highlights the power of social conformity.
Even in dangerous situations.
All right, so tell me about this smoke-filled room.
So they put participants in a room.
Okay.
Either alone or with other people.
Okay.
And while they were filling out these questionnaires, they started pumping smoke into the room.
Smoke? Really?
Through a vent.
Wow.
The idea was to see how people would react to this kind of ambiguous but potentially dangerous situation.
Okay, so they see the smoke.
Yeah, what do they do?
What do they do? Do they freak out?
So the ones who were alone, they reacted pretty quickly.
Okay.
Most of them noticed the smoke within a few minutes.
Okay.
They kind of investigated the vent.
Yeah.
And then they left the room to report it.
Okay, so they're like, there's a fire.
Yeah, like, this is a hazard.
I'm going to get out of here.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Which is a natural response, right?
Yeah.
To a potential fire hazard.
But what about the people who were with other people?
Well, here's where it gets interesting.
Okay.
The participants who were in the room with other people.
Yeah.
And these were actually Confederates.
Oh, interesting.
In the experiment.
Okay.
They were instructed to just stay calm.
Really?
And unconcerned.
Like.
Keep filling out the questionnaires. Everything's fine.
Everything's fine.
Nothing was happening.
Nothing to see here.
Nothing to see here. Just doing my paperwork.
Wow.
Yeah. So they're basically acting like everything's totally normal.
Yeah.
Even though the room is filling with smoke.
Wow. And what do the...
And here's the crazy thing.
Yeah.
The participants who are in the room with these nonchalant Confederates,
Yeah.
they conformed to their behavior.
No way.
Yeah. They hesitated to react, even though they were obviously concerned. They could see the smoke.
Even though they could see it, they were doubting their own instincts because everyone else...
Because everyone else was so chill.
Was acting so chill.
Yeah. That's social conformity.
Wow. That's wild.
We look to others for cues about how to behave.
Yeah.
Especially in these ambiguous situations.
Right.
We don't want to overreact. We don't want to, stand out from the crowd.
It's like if you're in a meeting at work and someone says something that you don't agree with.
Right, right.
But you're kind of like, well, I don't want to be
the only one who disagrees.
The only one who says something. Yeah, you just
go along with it.
Go along with it.
And this smoke-filled room study, it shows that drive to conform can be so powerful.
Wow.
Even when our own safety is at stake.
So it's not just about diffusing responsibility when we're in a group.
Right.
It's also about
conforming to the social norms.
Yeah, conforming to...
Like, what's everyone else doing?
What everyone else is doing.
Yeah. And this drive to conform, it's not even limited to, like, physical groups.
Really?
Yeah, the source material mentioned a study that found that this effect can happen even when we're alone.
Really?
Simply by imagining ourselves in a group setting.
By thinking about being in a group.
It's called the crowded minds study.
Crowded minds?
And basically,
so if I just imagine myself in a crowded room, that could make me less likely to help someone.
They found that participants who were asked to imagine being in a group setting, they donated less to charity.
That's so weird.
Yeah, isn't that strange?
That's really trippy.
Yeah. Compared to those who were asked to imagine being alone.
So even in our minds, we're looking for those cues.
We're looking for those social cues.
From other people.
Yeah. Whether they're actually there or not.
Yeah. Whether they're figments of our imagination.
It's built into us.
Wow.
This need to conform.
So what does this all mean? Like, are we all just doomed?
Well, I mean, doomed is maybe a bit dramatic.
Yeah. Okay.
But
are we destined to be bystanders?
Not at all.
Okay.
The good news is that understanding this bystander effect is the first step to overcoming it.
So knowledge is power.
Absolutely.
Okay.
By understanding these psychological forces, we can start to make different choices.
Okay, so this whole episode isn't about making people feel bad.
No, not at all.
It's about
awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
And empowering people.
Because if we know that we're susceptible to this, we can choose.
We can choose to act differently.
Yeah. But knowing about it is one thing.
Right.
Actually applying it is another. Yeah.
So are there things we can do?
I think so.
To actually combat this, both individually and as a society.
Absolutely. There are definitely things we can do.
Okay.
Both on a personal level and as a community.
Okay. So what can we do?
Well, let's dive into that.
All right. Stay tuned for part 2.
So we were talking about, what can we do about this, right?
Yeah.
Like how do we actually combat the bystander effect?
Right, because it's easy to hear all this and be like, well, great, now I feel hopeless because I'm wired to be a bystander.
Yeah. No one wants to feel powerless.
Right.
But the thing is, it's not about like being perfect.
Right.
It's just about like being aware.
Okay.
And consciously trying to do better.
So awareness is the first step.
Awareness is huge. Like studies have actually shown
that educating people about the bystander effect
really
can actually make them more likely to help.
Wow. So just by listening to this, our listeners
potentially
are more likely to help someone in a tough situation.
It's not a guarantee, obviously.
Right.
But just knowing about it can make a difference.
Okay, so that's good.
It's encouraging, yeah.
Yeah, it's good to know that there's hope.
Yeah, it's not all doom and gloom.
Right.
Right, but it's not just about individual awareness.
Right.
We also have to think about what can we do as a society to foster this.
Yeah, to create a culture where people are more likely to step up.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest things is promoting pro-social values.
Pro-social values, okay.
What does that mean?
Like emphasizing empathy.
Kindness.
Yeah.
A sense of community.
I like that.
Starting with our schools, our workplaces, our communities.
Imagine if every kid grew up learning about these things.
Yeah.
That would be...
It could be transformative.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, make the world a much better place.
And we could also make it easier for people to help.
Okay, how do we do that?
Well, like offering training.
Okay, training what?
Like first aid training.
Okay.
CPR training.
Okay.
Create clear guidelines for reporting emergencies.
Okay.
And develop systems
that
reduce the risks associated with helping.
Okay.
For example, like Good Samaritan laws.
Oh, right, yeah.
These laws, they protect people who offer assistance in good faith from legal liability.
Okay, that's good. Yeah.
So, if people feel safer and they feel more confident.
Yeah, more confident that they can actually help and not make things worse.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're more likely to step up.
Right.
Yeah. But sometimes it's not just about the fear or the apathy.
Right.
Sometimes it's just like not knowing what to do.
Right. What do I do? This is happening. What do I do?
Right. And that's why giving people the skills and knowledge that they need is so important.
Okay.
So it's really like a multi-pronged approach.
Okay.
We have to promote those pro-social values.
Right. Okay.
We have to provide training. We have to provide support.
Okay.
And we have to create systems. That make it easier for people to help.
It's like we want to shift the narrative.
Yes.
From bystander to upstander.
Yes, I love that.
Right.
From bystander to upstander.
It's about recognizing that we all have a role to play.
We all have a role to play.
Yeah.
In creating a more compassionate and helpful society.
Okay, so let's bring it back to that initial question, right?
Yeah.
Why didn't anyone help Kitty Genovese? Yeah,
it's a question that's haunted people.
Yeah.
For decades.
Right.
And there's no easy answer.
Yeah.
But what Darlene LaTanna gave us is this framework for understanding how our social environment shapes our behavior.
Okay.
Sometimes in ways that go against our own values.
It's almost like we don't have free will sometimes.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
Okay.
But it does highlight the power of the situation.
Yeah.
And it reminds us that we're not just passive observers.
Okay.
Like we have a choice.
Yeah.
Do we succumb to the bystander effect?
Right.
Or do we rise above it?
And sometimes that choice can mean the difference between life and death.
It can.
So I think the takeaway here is
what have we learned?
That we can make a difference.
We can.
We can all be upstanders.
Yeah.
We can choose to help.
And
hopefully we create a world where this episode
will inspire people to be more helpful.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, to look out for each other.
So let's do that.
Let's do it.
Let's be the change we want to see.
Well, that's it for our deep dive into the bystander effect.
It's a bit.
We hope you found it fastful
and hopefully empowering.
Yeah, empowering. And remember, the conversation doesn't have to end here.
Right.
Talk to your friends, your families, your colleagues. Spread awareness.
Yeah, spread the word.
And let's build a culture.
Yeah, a culture
of helping together.
Yeah, I love that.
All right.
Thanks for joining us. So we've talked about the problem, this bystander effect. What can we do about it?
Right. Like how do we become better at helping?
Yeah, because we don't want to just leave people feeling helpless.
Exactly. We want to empower people.
Okay, so how do we do that?
Well, I think a big part of it is, remember those 5 stages?
Oh, right. Those 5 stages of helping?
Yeah, like noticing the situation, interpreting what's happening, taking responsibility,
right,
deciding how to help, weighing the costs and benefits.
Okay, yeah.
We need to consciously think about those steps.
Okay, so it's almost like a mental checklist?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
Like first, am I even noticing what's going on around me?
Right.
Am I paying attention? And then, okay, is this actually an emergency?
Right.
Do I need to step in? Then am I the one who needs to act?
Okay.
Or is someone else better suited?
So really think through, okay, what's my role here?
Exactly. And then, what can I actually do to help? And finally, are the risks of helping greater than the potential benefits of taking action?
So it's really about being more mindful and deliberate in those moments?
Exactly. Don't just react, think it through.
But sometimes those situations happen so fast.
They do. And that's why it's important to, practice this kind of thinking.
Okay, like a mental rehearsal.
Yeah, like a mental fire drill, almost.
So that when a real situation happens, you're more prepared.
You're ready to act.
Wow, that's really helpful. But it sounds like a lot of individual work.
It is, but it's not just about individual responsibility.
Right. We were talking about a societal approach, too.
Exactly. We have to create a culture that supports helping.
Okay. Yeah, how do we do that?
Well, I think it starts with promoting pro-social values.
Pro-social values, okay.
Like empathy, compassion, kindness, a sense of community.
Yeah, I love that.
Imagine if every kid was raised with those values.
Yeah, that would be incredible.
Right. It would be a different world.
Yeah.
We also need to make it easier for people to help.
Okay, how do we do that?
Well, like providing training, like first aid and CPR.
Okay, yeah.
Making sure people know how to report emergencies effectively.
Right, so they feel confident that they know what to do.
Yeah, and we need systems in place that protect people who do step up to help.
Oh, right, like Good Samaritan laws.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Those laws protect people from legal liability.
Yeah.
If they're acting in good faith to help someone.
Okay, so it's about removing those barriers to helping.
Exactly, making it safer and easier for people to do the right thing.
Okay.
And sometimes, people freeze up because they just don't know what to do.
Right, what do I do?
Yeah. So it's also about giving people the tools and knowledge they need.
Okay, so it's kind of this multi-pronged approach.
It is. It takes effort on multiple levels.
Yeah.
But I really believe we can create a culture where helping is the norm.
A culture of upstanders, not bystanders.
Exactly.
Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey.
I feel like I've learned a lot.
Me too.
And hopefully our listeners have as well.
I hope so. And I hope it inspires them to be a little more helpful, a little more aware, and a little more willing to step up when someone needs them.
Yeah, to be the change they want to see in the world.
Exactly.
Well, that's it for our deep dive into the bystander effect. Thanks for joining us.